of argument isn't necessarily helpful when this law was derived from people's real life experiences.
Joe Sonka, we have you on the line now, editor of the Kentucky-based blog Barefoot and Progressive. Talk about what you found in December.
In December, Rand Paul's spokesperson, Christopher Hightower, myself and a fellow blogger in Kentucky, Jake Payne at Page One Kentucky, we found his on his MySpace page for well over a year. Someone had posted a picture on Martin Luther King Day, and it said "Happy N-word Day," and it had a picture of a black man lynched. And he left it up on the page for well over a year. This was an active page that he used and wrote diaries on. And within about 12 hours of that post, he eventually resigned. But Rand Paul defended him afterwards and said that he didn't think that he was a racist.
But he was forced to resign.
And what's that?
And he was forced to resign.
Yes, he was forced to resign.
Were you able to talk with Hightower at all about the reasons for maintaining the post?
He first of all denied it, and when the Courier-Journal asked him, he denied that it was him. And eventually, the evidence was overwhelming that it was him, and he never commented to the press on why that was up on his page. He originally told the press that he never had a MySpace page, but the evidence was overwhelming that it was his.
Well, Joe Sonka, we want to thank you for being with us, editor of the Kentucky-based blog Barefoot and Progressive. Last question, the image that he had on the page, the image of the lynching and the Happy End Day. Did Rand Paul say anything about this, and how long had Christopher Hightower been his spokesperson when he was running for Senate before he won?
He had been his spokesperson since the beginning. Rand Paul again said that he found the image abhorrent, but he still didn't think that he was a racist, and still defended his character. And he spoke out against the image, but didn't find that he was a racist. So.
Finally, when you hear this, Professor Kelly, your thoughts?
I think it's important for us to remember that it's impossible almost for us to figure out if someone is actually a racist. And it may not even be particularly relevant exactly what is deep in their heart and that goes unspoken. What is relevant as a policymaker are the kinds of actions you take and the approach you would have to the law and the empathy you would have to your constituents, all of your constituents. If he becomes a senator, he will represent not only those who voted for him, but those who did not. And so this effort to be respectful and thoughtful about how others will receive his actions is really quite important, whether or not we can ever discern whether or not someone is racist. It's not a word I use regularly. It's difficult. It makes us get down to a very personal level when we need to think in more structural and systemic terms about the ways in which lawmakers have to behave.
Finally, a question to Mike Irvin. We're talking about Rand Paul, but it wasn't easy for you to get in this morning to do this show today, and we very much appreciate you coming into the studio. On the issue of President Obama and disability rights, what's your assessment?
General disappointment. On some things, he's not taken any leadership at all. Lately, they're starting to get a little more aggressive. The Office of Civil Rights within the Department of Justice is starting to file lawsuits against states that are seeking to get people out of large institutions and have money shifted to supporting people in their homes, which is a very good thing. But on the law, there's a law that's been introduced, a bill called the Community Choice Act, which would do that same thing, which would change the bias that exists in Medicaid laws that puts people in institutions in the first place. As a senator here in Illinois, he was a reluctant sponsor. When we approached him as president, he did not want any part of it at all. He didn't want to hear what we had to say, and in fact, people were arrested outside the White House when we tried to insist that he support this law. So he's probably been, in our eyes, what he has been in the eyes of most progressives, which is a pretty big disappointment with some mild to semi-significant improvements.
We want to thank you all for being with us. Mike Irvin, freelance journalist, longtime activist with the disability rights group ADAPT. Thank you very much to Blair Kelly, associate professor of history at North Carolina State University, author of Right to Ride, Streetcar Boycotts and African-American Citizenship in the Era of Plessy v. Ferguson. And thanks very much to Joe Sonka, joining us from the blog in Kentucky, Barefoot and Progressive. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. The War and Peace Report, back in a minute.
That's great, it starts with an earthquake, birds and snakes, an airplane.